So we're talking about a very hot topic today. Actually, we all are bombarded with this news and everything about renewable energy, energy transition, clean energy. Who actually has read something like today or yesterday talking about climate change, renewable energy? Like a lot of people in the crowd. So yeah, it is a super hot topic, and we're discussing, and then we are also seeing this Swedish teenager going to the COP and talking to the COP24, talking to the people that actually are responsible for taking some action, so the representatives of countries, and asking to do more than we're doing now, to do it faster, to do it more. But what does it actually mean? So I'm here today to talk about something that we don't usually talk or read when we are seeing or reading news about renewable energy or clean energy. What does it actually mean to increase the amount of renewable energy that we have? So actually, in the Paris Agreement, several countries went there and made promises that they would substitute their energy sources by cleaner sources. And for the Netherlands, for instance, by 2020, they promised to have 14% of the whole energy consumed in the Netherlands coming from renewable sources. This is not going to be met. It's going to be 12.4%, but it's almost there. By 2030, this number should increase to 24%, and by 2050, it should be 100% already. And because this goal has been postponed for so long, suddenly we just have to accelerate and speed up this process and suddenly just install a lot of windmills and photovoltaic and geothermal and whatever to meet this goal, to be able to keep the temperature or the rise of the temperature of the planet below the 2 degrees if possible. But then, how clean is actually the clean energy? Because we see a solar panel, and of course it's not producing CO2 or other things while it is on our roof producing electricity. But where does it actually come from? What happens to the solar panel before it gets to your house? What is it made of? And the windmills as well, and all this technology. So it has a lot of metals in it, and it takes a lot of effort to produce. So how long do you think that it takes for a solar panel to compensate the emissions and the environmental impacts that it caused during its production compared to the energy that we consume now from the grid? Considering that we have a grid that is composed by hard coal, natural gas, and some other sources, also a bit of renewable there. So what do you think, how long do you think the solar panel has to work nicely on your roof to compensate these emissions? Someone?
7 years.
How much? 7 years? Okay.
40.
40? Okay. How much? 20? Okay. One, okay. Yeah, so actually, the closest was 7, as you said? Yeah, it's about 8 to 10 years that the solar panel has to work to compensate its emissions and to be cleaner than actually consuming energy that is coming from natural gas or just the mix that we have in the grid. So as we see, it's not that simple, and actually the solar panel has a lifetime of 30 years. So it's not exactly clean in the way that it does not cause any harm to environment. It causes less harm, and for it to be really of a real advantage, it should be like a lot better to compensate. But what the thought that I have now is that we need to speed up the process to make this change, because it is polluting less on long term. But now we just suddenly need a lot of materials. What kind of materials are in a photovoltaic panel? We have rare earth elements, which means that are metals that are rare, they are difficult to find, and they're difficult to mine. And they haven't been mined so far because till now we didn't have an application for it. So there is new technology that needs to be developed to mine these metals. But then what is this causing to the actual production that we need to have the solar panels on top of our roofs for generating energy? We need more and more metals being mined. And what does this cause? There is a lot of risks involved with mining, for instance. So there are several consequences, like when you mine a metal, what happens after you have the product that you actually wanted, that metal? You have tons and tons of waste. And what happens to this waste? Most of the mines, they just make them and they leave it there because they don't want to spend more money than the actual necessary and demanded by law. So you just have a huge pool of rejects of contaminated materials and heavy metals that are super risky. And actually, recently, Brazil had another disaster, environmental disaster, due to actually a dam collapsing from a very big mining company. And that's the second in 3 years. So actually, and of course, producing renewable energy production equipment is not the only driver for this, but it does mean increasing pressure over these systems, and it does mean that these mines and these places that are producing the materials that we need for these equipments, they are under more pressure, and of course they are located in countries that have more less strict environmental rules, and it does mean increasing environmental impacts and risks for these locations. So that's the thing that we should always keep in mind when we are, there is someone selling us an idea that this is the solution for our problems and suddenly everything will be solved. That's not true, because it's a more complex problem. And of course we have to continue because, we have to change the way we are using energy, we're producing energy, but we have to do it right. And for that, we need to do research, and we need to demand that this is being done properly, that we know that the metals are being mined in a responsible way, that the best technology is being applied so that we don't generate these huge dams of waste that nobody knows what to do with. And there is one thing for sure that everyone can do, and that is guaranteed that is going to work, which is always like consume less. So yeah.